Hello, friends, and welcome to Little Giant Crafts. My name's Jesse, and today I want to talk about Gunpla, what it is, why I love it, and how easy it is to get started. Gunpla is a portmanteau of Gundam plastic models. These are model kits based on Gundam. They're very popular in Japan. To explain that a little more, what is Gundam? Gundam is an anime franchise that began in 1979, and it has come to represent a variety of television series and movies. They aren't all in the same continuity, but they have a lot of recurring themes like war, space, a giant primarily white robot with yellow horns. Think of it kind of like James Bond, where all the different actors kind of take place in different movies, but they're all basically the same thing. It's like that. If you're a fan of giant robots, as I am, I highly recommend checking out Gundam itself. Besides the wonderful animation, one of the biggest reasons the Gundam franchise is popular is because of these model kits. At its most basic, really the only tools you need to make a Gunpla kit are clippers of some sort. I actually built my very first kit with nail clippers. You really don't have to get fancy, but if you want to invest even, $5 to $10 on some nippers, they are a great tool. And that's really it. If you want to go slightly fancier, the only other tools I recommend are some fine grained sandpaper. I usually use around 1,000 grit, silver Sharpie markers, and something I'll talk about later called a panel lining marker. But let's get started. So if you've ever assembled a Warhammer model, this will look familiar. Inside the box are instructions and a bunch of plastic sprues. They are usually labeled from A to, G or however many there are. I like to put them in order so I can easily find the piece I need. And then really all you have to do is follow the instructions one step at a time. If you've never made a model before and you just look over the whole thing, it can feel overwhelming. But usually you're only dealing with one or two pieces at a time, and it's really not as bad as it seems. Now, if you've never made a model before, what I suggest is not cutting out just the piece itself. You want to cut a little bit of the sprue as well, and then once the piece is out, trim off the last little bit of sprue. For Gunpla, this is especially important because if you're not painting it, this will leave minimal marks on the plastic itself, and the overall final product will look better, but it's a small detail. Then I just sand down the nub from where it was cut or any little mold lines, and then you just follow the instructions and build it. They can pretty much be built in a day. This one took me about 3.5 hours, obviously more or less depending on how focused you are, but they come together pretty quickly. And you'll notice I didn't mention glue in my supplies because they all snap together and you don't need glue. Now, the reason I like having a metallic Sharpie is because, these are robots, they have metal bits, but they're usually pretty small, like not a lot of it is metallic detail or detail that I want to be metallic. I don't want to go through the whole process of priming a piece and painting it if it's just going to be, one or two little details. So the Sharpie is really good. It covers really easy and it gives a really nice metallic finish. I usually like to do the vents on the backpack, but really, this is up to you, whatever little details you want to pick out in metallic. It just adds a nice little touch. Then if you really want to get fancy, the other thing I mentioned is a Gundam panel lining marker. The ones I have are specifically made for Gunpla. I'm not sure if there's a normal non-Gundam product out there similar. If there is, let me know. But what this is for, if you've ever painted miniatures, this step is similar to giving a model a wash. What you do is you take the model and you fill in any small lines or go around any details, and it really just makes them easier to see. And the great thing about these markers is that they just wipe off with a finger, so you can be a little messy and clean it up afterwards. And as someone who works fast and messy, I really like that. You don't have to be really careful to get everything in the right spot. And again, like the markers, this is just a matter of taste. You can panel line as much or as little of the model as you want. And you can see the comparison here between the undersides of his feet. The foot on the left is just how it comes out of the box, and the foot on the right is how it looks after panel lining and adding some metallic details. As you can see, it's not necessary, but it really makes the details stand out and just makes things look a little nicer. Now, of course, you can also customize and paint your Gunpla, or even, do kit bashing, taking parts from different kits. But if you just want to build right out of the box, that's all you need to do. Now, why do I love Gunpla so much? Well, for one thing, unlike, say, Warhammer, as much as I love those miniatures, once you build them, you still need to paint them. And when you finish a Gunpla kit, once you finish building it, it's basically done. Not only that, but speaking of Warhammer again, it is much cheaper. There's different sizes and grades of kits you can get, but for the basic high-grade kits, they're usually around $20 to $30, which for a similarly sized Warhammer kit would probably be, $70, $80. So you get a lot more for your money. And my other favorite thing is that they are articulated. It's like you're basically building yourself an action figure. If you like making dioramas, you can really play around with different poses or even just putting them on display. And if you're a fan of the shows like I am, it's really fun to buy a kit and build a mobile suit that you're a fan of. For example, here I am building the RX 78-2, commonly referred to as the Granddaddy Gundam because he is the original, the very first Gundam from the original anime in 1979. This kit is a sort of 40th anniversary adaptation, some little details are different, but the original series is what got me into Gundam, and I've been wanting a kit of this suit for a while, so I thought I would finally get it. Now, as for the specific kit itself, I'm really happy with it. Compared to some older kits I've built, the articulation is much nicer in this one. Like, the knees have two separate joints. It has a wider range of motion, and I really like that. My only real downside with it is that the colors are a bit muted, almost pastel compared to the original. You can see here, compared to this little chibi figure of the same suit I have, the colors on that are a lot more vibrant, but that's really a minor complaint. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed. If you've ever thought about getting into Gunpla, I would highly recommend it. I am by no means an expert, but I think it's a lot of fun. And until next time, be creative, be kind, and take care of yourself. Oh, and one other thing I forgot to mention earlier, oftentimes these kits do come with stickers because while the majority of the pieces are made in the color that they're supposed to be, not all of them are, especially for some smaller details like eyes. In this case, the only sticker that came with the kit were the eyes, but I ended up not using them. So one other fun thing you can do is put the sticker on your hand and make Thumbla.